Okay, everybody, I got some updates. We got some parts. We got our fork seals, we got our carburetor insulator, wheel bearings, wheel seals, 420 chain, we got our tires. I'm gonna start with the front end since I gotta rebuild the forks anyways. And since I'm gonna have the front end apart anyways, I'm going to re-grease the neck bearings here because I feel like that's overlooked by a lot of people. And that grease is original, I'm sure, so we're gonna change that. Also, going to re-grease the speedo cable. This can be some issues as well, because if it's the dry old grease in there, it'll cause your speedometer to jump around and not read right. So we're gonna re-grease that as well. Also, I got bored the other night. After I took these little rotted rubber pieces off, I got tired of looking at that rust. So I had some parts laying around and put them right here and painted them up, and I think it looks pretty nice. So, okay, let's get started. Whew. Okay, got them out. Had to use a little punch here and loosen this bolt and hammer in so I can get the fork tube out, and make sure you have that bolt loose as well, or if you need to take it out, take it out. But you can see these forks, they were just rusted. This one ain't so bad, but this one had a lot of surface rust in it, but I'll clean all that up. All right, those fork seals were a pain in the butt to get off, but I'm gonna rebuild these forks, so. I'm trying to keep these boots because they still look like they're in pretty decent shape. I don't say that, as long as I don't tear them. There we go. There we go. They don't look too bad. I mean, there's a little bit. I'll clean them up the best I can. Like I said, these boots are still in decent shape, and so I'm gonna keep those. The aftermarket ones that you get off eBay and Amazon, they just don't fit right. So let's get this fluid out. Ew. You could be trying to pop this thing loose all day long, it ain't gonna come out unless, and if it does come out, you've probably broken something. So, but there's a snap ring in here. Wasn't ideal to get that out, but it's out now. So, and that's it. Okay, I cheated. I went over there to the bench grinder, had the wire wheel, and I just ran it across it, got all that big stuff off because the brake clean and the Scotch-Brite pad wasn't working, and now it slides off very easy. I'm not really worried about this because this isn't where your seal rides. Your seal rides in here. Now there is a spot here that may or may not cause me issues. I'm not sure. It's not too bad, so I think I'll be fine. But if it is, then I'll have to buy replacement forks that I'm not really looking forward to doing if I have to, because they just don't ever work right in my opinion. They ride too stiff. And when you come in and you clean all this stuff off, you got to make sure that all your holes and stuff are clean as well. And I'll show you how I clean. What I do is I just get some gas, and I'll work in here, get a brush and clean up all this surface. And I'm not going to repaint this. I'm just going to clean it up and make it look nice. And then I'll throw them back on the bike. All right, then I'll rinse it out. So just continue to rinse it out after you do everything to it, because you don't want to put any of that back in there. Okay, on the bottom part of the fork, I just used some spray away. And you just do a little bit of detail work on every little thing on these bikes without even touching the paint. Makes a big difference on these old bikes because they've been sitting a while and neglected, and just every little detail like this will make it look a lot better. And like I said, those shiny parts, like I said, that's not going to be seen, or that's going to be seen because your boot comes to right here. Yeah, just little things like that make a big difference. Like I said, it's not perfect. The whole bike isn't perfect, so. But just a little bitty details makes a big difference on these little bikes. Not 100%, but it's a lot better than it was. All right, let's get this thing back together. All right. What I like to do, get a little fork fluid when I'm assembling it, that way it's already got some coated on it. Not much, just a little. I'll get a little in here, kind of just come in here. Same thing with the tube, just put a little on there. Make sure when you're doing this, leave this bolt off. Sometimes it will mess with the vacuum when you put the seal on. So, okay, let's get the seal on. Again, I ain't got really the proper tool for this. Press it down. There we go. And the seal will bottom out, so you ain't gotta worry about it getting crooked. If it's crooked, I mean it's not seated all the way. Go around, check that little ridge in there, make sure everything's uniform. Oh, dummy me. Forgot to put the collar on. Oh, all right. Okay. Take two. Now this probably won't seal very well, because that big old chunk right there is actually right there in the sealing surface, which is what I was afraid of. But we're gonna go ahead and run it anyways till I can find me some good replacements. It'll still work, it'll just leak over time, and you have to keep filling it. She's in and the seal is good. All right. Okay, when you're messing with this stuff, there's ball bearings in here, and most likely, since that grease is dried, they're just gonna go everywhere. So what I try to do, it works, sometimes it doesn't, is I put magnets on the side, hopefully keep them in place so they don't go everywhere. That's not always the case, and usually I take all this stuff off, but I just don't want to mess with it right now. Here goes nothing. Huh. They actually all stuck to the grease. Easy. I lost one. Where'd you go? Oh. I think you're right there. Check in there. There's a few in there as well. I think that's all those. Oh, don't do that. Oh, no. Come here. There you go. Okay. Gotta take the horn off. Okay, got all the bearings out. Should be 42. I counted 42, so unless any of them run off, 42 should go back on. 21 on top, 21 on the bottom. I'm gonna clean both these races up and see how bad they are. They don't look too bad. So let's get started. Let's get this cleaned up. I'm gonna be careful with the paint though. But this part right here, the neck won't be seen, so it's not really a big issue. It's actually really nice, which makes me think it's never been touched before. So looking at the grease and everything, it's never been opened, never been greased or anything, so. If you can see that, but the races actually look really good. I'm actually really surprised. Since I got this open, don't have the correct, almost the correct size, but what I like to do where I put it back on the bike is I try to clean these out a little bit with this little ball hone that I have. It's not the correct size, but it's enough where I can get in there and actually kind of move it around. So when I put it back on the bike, it actually goes in smoother. All right, time to grease it. Okay, I forgot to show y'all, this is how I clean the ball bearings. I'll get it in a container. Sometimes you use a rag. I get a container with a little brake clean, or you can use gas, but I use brake clean, maybe. And what you do is just sit there, kind of move them around. That's it, and they'll clean each other. And you get a rag. Let's see if this one. This one's already. And then I'll get move them around a little bit, and I'll get this clean towel. Kind of move them around. And that's it. They're all clean, degreased, ready to go back on the bike. I just use regular high temp wheel bearing grease. So I usually try to put the bearings that go on the bottom on the neck here. That way I'm not fighting with it. Oh man. See, right there. Where'd you go? Okay. Follow that a bit. It's stuck in my finger. There you are. I think that's correct amount. So check and count these. There. All right. There's a proper tool for this thing, but I ain't got one, so. What you want to do is just get it snug. If you get it too tight, you'll actually feel the ball bearings move inside there, and you don't want that. You want to feel like they're floating, left to right. And that's it. Okay, I'm gonna clean a few more things up before I get that front end back together. Steel wool, these little bitty details makes a big difference on these bikes. It's already apart, so might as well make it a little bit nicer. There you go. Not great, but a lot better than it was. Of course. All right. When you're pushing these tubes back through, a lot of times the tube stuff will start to give you resistance. All right. It's gonna be one of them. All right. What you want to do? Get a longer bolt with the same thread pitch, put it in there, That way you can compress that tube. And then once you get it up to where you need it, those bolts on the side there, clamp it down. And then it should be in place. Put your bolts back in. And then when you tighten these down, what you want to do is, since this is already threaded in, you want to release the tension a little bit. And you can tighten these down. That way they'll seat all the way. Get that snug. Come back with your impact and get it down the rest of the way. And that's it. And basically just do the same process on the other side. Can't see it. When you get these tubes all the way through and everything pressed down, you want that little lip, that little nipple that's sticking out of the fork tube to recess inside the triple clamp here. As far as I know, there's not a left and a right side to these. I know in some of your newer ones and some of that Chinese junk, there's a left and a right, and an up and a down, but for these, I don't think there is. I'll have to come back and take this off again to tighten this down. Forgot about that. I don't think I can get it tight enough with this. Maybe I can. Actually, that's pretty tight. But I'll fix that after get everything back together. It'll be a lot easier. Okay, figure I'd show y'all actual grease in it. So just get the cable, get it on your fingers or glove or rag, and just run it the entire length of the cable. Make sure it still moves. And then put your little washer back on. Now the part that I love the most, tires. Got lucky with that one. Now what I'm gonna do is clean all this stuff up, and before I replace the wheel bearings, what I'm going to do is pull these plastic pieces off and get some of this grease off, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my vapor blasting cabinet and clean everything up. Hopefully I'll be able to see this. I'm not sure how shaky it's going to be since I got to remove these wheel bearings. A little piece of rebar I made a tool because there's a wheel bearing, a sleeve, and a wheel bearing, and you can't really move the sleeve out of the way. There's a little bit of lip. So that's what I'm going to try to get right there. Kind of put a little pressure on it to seat into that inside of that bearing there. No way. That was way too easy. Huh. Take it though. See all that old grease? It's never been changed. That's insane. Kind of cool actually. Okay. Old kick shaft. That's it. The wheel turned out pretty nice. It's not perfect. I actually had to use some steel wool on it because some of those spots would want to come off, and I don't want to hold it on there because if you do put it on there too long, it'll start to, I guess you would say, frost it, just start putting little bitty specks in it, and I don't want to do that. So that's it. All right, get this thing on. First, we're gonna need some grease. So I put a little on here, so when I put that gear on there, it'll stay. And I also put a little bit on the gear itself. And that will go right there. It'll go, actually, hold on. Forgot to put a little grease on that seal there. Move around until it gets flush. And if you need to, you can turn it to where you see where the speedo goes. If you move it and it moves, and then you know you're in. So. Just put a little grease. Actually, to do that, I gotta put this seal on. And this is your spacer that goes on the other side. You can see where that seal rides at. So that's where that's the way I'm gonna put it back in. Not a lot. Grab the axle here. Put your light coating on there. Not always, but you might have to there's a little hole in that axle on the opposite side. You can put a screwdriver through or something like that so you can get it, so you can hold it while you're torquing this down. I don't think this one's gonna move. Of course it's moving. All right. Spin it. All right. Okay. Got the rear wheel off. I'm gonna take this back hub apart. This right here, that just goes through the bottom. There's nothing holding it in. You gotta get these retaining clips out. There's nuts on the back side. That comes off. And this little cap here is where another bearing's at. There's a seal. as well. I don't know if I got a new one of those or not. Yep, came with a new seal. So the only seal I don't have is that one for the front, which kind of bugs me. There you go. All right. Got a bearing fresh out of the freezer. Or not. Okay. And this goes back to the back side. After you do that, you want to make sure your bearing didn't come up, which it didn't. It's able to clean the sprocket up a little bit. It ain't the best, but that's it. All right, I always want to put a little grease on the axle. Helps it slide in, and it also will make it easier if you have to take it apart in the future. Not a lot, just cut it a little bit. You got the big nut, holds your hub on, and the little nut actually holds the axle in. So when you're adjusting the chain, you have to loosen them both. All right, rear brakes are on and hooked up. I did screw up. For some reason I thought these take 420 chain. I had some spare ones, so I was like, okay, it's gonna be easy. No, these are 428 chain, so I'm gonna have to go get some. This chain's still usable for now, so I'm just gonna put it all back together. And then once I get a new chain, I'll put that on. The correct length, factory length online, is 104 links. So I already checked. There's not a lot of play to this chain. You can turn it sideways and see how much it sags. And maybe this. I can't get grease all over me. And see, it don't sag. It sags, but it don't sag that much. And all the links move freely. So like I said, I'm just gonna run this for now. Easy way to get this. And it's just those 3 bolts. There's a bolt here, bolt underneath the swing arm, and a bolt right here underneath the air box. And it just slides out. Access the sprocket a lot easier this way. The easiest way I found is let gravity help out and try to put it on the gear itself. Get it where it lays on top, and you get your other hand underneath the splines here and just slowly move it. And I said, be careful, you could get the chain bound up in the case or between the cases and the frame or your fingers. So you want to be very careful. And then once it comes through, get you quite a bit of slack. And then come back over here, throw it on. Because if not, gravity will not be in your favor and it will just fall right back through. And all the original parts, it's not ideal. Like I said, I am going to replace it. But like I said, I thought I had chain, so I didn't order chain. And I totally forgot these are 428, not 420. So, and all these keepers here, the actual close end goes in the rotation of the bike when it's moving forward. And that's it. And then to adjust it, you adjust it with these little adjusters on each side. And there's actually little marks on each side of the swing arm. I try to line those up on both ends and get them close, and then I'll snug it. And then you can look down this end towards the front of the bike and you can see if the chain's in or out. Once I get both sides equal, I'll come in here and I'll start with half to quarter turns. So we'll do half a turn here, half a turn here. To continue to check it, you can come by and you want a little bit of slack, but you don't want a lot. That's about good. Now, once you start getting close, I do quarter turns. So quarter, quarter. So you want to look right down and see if it's straight or not. And that's straight. So I put new brake shoes on. It was adjusted to the last setting. And plus I got to readjust the foot pedal as well. You'll do that, you'll spin it, and it's spinning true. Come check. And after that, after it's where you need it to be. And if it's off, you'll know it. It'll start making some clunking sounds because the chain's not lined up. So once it's where you need it to be, just start tightening everything back down. And that's it. Like I said, this isn't ideal. You always want it when you're doing stuff like this. You got an old worn out chain, you want to replace it. This thing has been bugging me ever since I got it. What I like to do, see it's a little up and in. I like to just lightly I feel good with that. All right, everybody, that's it for the ct90 revival. Like I said, just a lot of little things make a big difference on these bikes. Yeah, I could spend hours and hours taking everything apart, polishing it, cleaning it, stuff like that, but the natural patina that the bike has for the year, I like. It's a little bit of faded in spots, a little shiny in spots. Just adds really good character to the bike, in my opinion. You don't have to worry about it if you're riding and you lay it over, you scratch it, big deal. So, like I said, I will get a 428 chain for some reason. I thought it was 420, probably because it was on the shelf. I saw a 420 chain, like, oh, 420, got it. Now it's 428, so that's my bad. That's going to be replaced. And I'll clean up a little other things. I'll polish the rear rack here, and I'll polish this tube here, but other than that, I'm not going to touch it. Like I said, I'm going to do a short little ride video at the end of this if y'all want to stick around for that, and if not, thanks for watching.